Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Troublemaker. This is the Wargame Cup 2012. And as a new round, I usually try to look into the map and see the benefits. I think we've already had this map. Or it just looks familiar to me. But instead, we're going to talk about the prizes! Money! Now, a lot of the people in this tournament are not, in fact, professional gamers. In fact, none of them are. And in fact, most of them are students. And if there's anything I know about students, it's that students are hungry. And what would seem like not a lot of money to some people would be very helpful to them, especially around this time of year. And so that makes this very, very competitive. Especially considering this is something they're doing, 30 minutes over 10 rounds. It's a lot of money for how much is put into it, excluding the practice time, of course. So already given out were the Steam games. There were 700 winners of round 1, so 700 free Steam games went out. Of course, as part of an error, 700 extra ones went out. I don't think it was really an error. I think it was Santa Claus. And all the round 1 winners also get a chance to win a $1,500 valued Ultra Book. And the Ultra Book is kind of interesting because it's it's a laptop and a tablet combined. I've had one of these myself for work in the past, and it's kind of neat because they flip over and they work kind of like a mouseless laptop. And in a game like this, it could actually be kind of helpful, just because it's such a mouse guided game. But it is a $1,500 laptop. It's pretty top line stuff. And I'm pretty sure it comes with Windows 8, which is, of course, a tablet-based operating system. That's stuff that's already decided. Round 6, I believe, was the 64 players left. All 66 players who remained got beta access. And as far as I know, beta is coming up in a few weeks. A lot of people are very, very excited about that. Coming into the finals, the final 4, and this is the final 8. So the winners of these matches are guaranteed cash. So that's why this is kind of an important time to talk about this. 4th place, which means the loser of the loser bracket, because there will be a loser bracket coming up, will get $300. Not bad. Not bad at all. 3rd place, as in the winner of the loser bracket, will get a $1,500 laptop, Ultrabook, and you'll get $700. 2nd place gets like, was it $1,000 in Ultrabook, and then 1st place gets what, $2,000, or is it $1,500? Those are pretty good prizes, and we're at the prize pool right now. Basically, the winners of these matches are guaranteed money. And without further ado, this is Storm Eye. Storm Eye is probably one of the most basic maps in the game. The advantage would be a scenario in which one player would go for the Charlie and Delta, and the other player would go for the Foxtrot and Golf, and there would be a little bit of a battle in the middle here, which means that infantry have a very prominent position on this map. However, note the middle is surrounded by rivers, and there is a great flanking scenario on the back here. And here. There's also a very oddly placed rally point at the bottom here. This seemingly useless point can be used for flanking around the back here in the case that your opponent takes this 3-point Bravo base. Now, to introduce the opponents, we have our NATO player, representing the color blue, is Corsair. Once again, going for a lot of these flak panzers, apparently. And the red player, representing also NATO, will be YKKYYKKY, who apparently was Tamale in the past. Just interesting. So looking at Corsair's build, it looks very similar to what he did before, so this might be what we call Corsair style, which is a lot of flak panzers. And flak panzers are not particularly good against air, but are very good against infantry. So this is a build that you probably will never want to use infantry units against. It is pretty infantry proof, and he's got some of these marder VTSI steel tanks and a lot of autocannon spam. A small flock of helicopters as well, and just a lot of anti-air, anti-tank vehicles, some infantry, some tanks, not too much though. From YKKYYKKY, we have a similar sized flock of gazelles, one extra one, a lot of infantry, some marder VTSIs, lots of marder 1s, some Weasel MK20s, And that's about it. So fairly similar looking build. A big difference though, of course, is that YKKYYKKY has a lot of infantry, and Corsair has a lot of anti-infantry. So immediately you might think that Corsair has a pretty significant advantage. However, if infantry get in range of anti-infantry, they can do a shockingly high amount of damage. So we're going to see some meeting the gazelles, and it looks like YKKYYKKY is going to use the other helicopters as spotters for these flanks here, as opposed to using infantry, which a lot of people use. And so he's going to right-click his helicopters on top of the recon helicopter and see if he can snipe that. And we see a little bit of a dance here. Realize he can't get it. He's going to pull back very quickly. And here comes the two blob armies. We have leading the way lots of infantry units. And lots of infantry units, and so we're going to see a little bit of a clash for this middle location. This base in the middle, this town, ends up being a very strategically valuable point, because if you control this town, that means you control the passageway through that town, which means you control the ability to attack your opponent quickly. However, because there's so many open fields here, there's also lots of opportunities for anti-tank weapons. Placing specific areas can pound into areas, and a lot of this map will come down to who can scout and spot. The people who can scout and spot effectively will be the guys who will be able to take the match. And so a superior number of infantry will rush through. However, there are lots of Weasel MK20s at range going to help deal with that, using that great auto cannon damage, and really able to just eradicate this squad of Chasseurs FAMAS with relatively low effort. Corsair takes a fairly significant lead right now, up to 60 points, and he should get to about a 100-point lead after killing off all these Chasseurs. I'm surprised these Chasseurs even still surviving. Fusiliers is going to move in and try to take these towns. Weasel MK20s from YYKKYY can come in and support as well, but here comes a whole blob of units. Marder BTSIs, Marder Rolands, and lots of these Marder Roland 1s, or Marder 1s, which of course are an anti-infantry squad of their own with lots of great autocannon power. And so the Chasseurs of YYKKYYKKY are moving to the back, and now it's Marder VTSI versus Marder VTSI, and it looks like Marder VTSI will win. Just a little tongue-in-cheek humor, but in fact, the Marder VTSIs of Corsair do survive, and there's 3 more for YYKKYYKKY here, and routed. Martyrs might be able to get in a position to do some pretty significant damage. However, this big giant open field is not really working well for YKKYYKKY, who's getting chewed up by these tow rockets. All the while this Marder is moving up and might be able to snipe one of these tows, or maybe even 2 of them. All the while, it looks like we're going to see a reposition here by YKKYKKY, and he's going to try and move around the eastern flank, trying to wipe out these tows, get it out of their target range, and looks like things are going to calm down. And so we're seeing the metagame break out. And in fact, it looks like for Corsair, he's playing a little bit safer. And this is basically you be safe. You take this 2 location, you take this 3 location, and wait on this golf location until these kind of rushes are over. Had he moved up his commander immediately, he could have lost it very easily. And looks like we have artillery. 3 mortar carriers out for YKKYYKKY. There's no way to say that name epically at all. I can't believe he changed his name to that. That's ridiculous. Anyway. Looks like YKKYYKKY will in fact secure the middle location, which means that he'll be gaining a fairly significant advantage on this map. Now keep in mind, he won't be able to take this Charlie location. Too much stuff here. Meaning that he will have a very long reinforcement path, which means that he will have a lot of trouble. And where is he moving this command number? He must have spotted these infantry units. Yes, he did. So he's moving the command number away, but where is he moving? It looks like he's going to move it up to the golf location. Very risky, actually. And very brave. Yes, in fact, going to move it away from these infantry. And he's going to use these gazelles to try and help pick off these infantry. There is a lot of Yagers here, and so he's going to be playing very cautious with that. A nice little squad of VABs moving up along the side. Corsair did this the last time I saw him too. Just very effective with these long range attacks, and might be able to do some pretty killer damage here. Now all the while, there's not really too big an advantage here for YKKYYKKY, even though he has his central base, just because he doesn't have a fast reinforcement point, and the point values he gained are roughly about the same. So we should see roughly an even match. However, with all these vehicles probably going to die to the marder VTSI, it looks like YKKYYKKY should take a pretty significant lead. However, there is a supply vehicle coming in to resupply these way cells, which are completely out of ammunition right now. All the while, a very long reinforcement path. This is going to be the bane of the existence of poor little YKKYYKKY, who has a name that only a mother could love. Also, you might consider getting a recon to kind of help pick these off. And supply truck will show up. And now these wee cells can do more damage. It's the key to victory, I hear. Now, of course, this is not really something that YKKYYKKY has really planned for. He doesn't have anything spotting this particular approach. We can see that Corsair used these helicopters to really push out the spotting helicopter here, so that in fact the flanks of YKKYYKK are not spotted, and Corsair has done an excellent job of spotting every single possible flank, something that Mr. YKKYYKKY has not been very successful at. And VABs, 2/3 of their tank fuel, they will make the trip. There is a lot of Weasel MK20s and some infantry here, so I'm thinking that Corsair will probably be fine. It will be very hard for him to break that. And here comes some Saracens going to run right into the Jaegers, and it might be some free infantry for, but no, he's going to move in. He's not going to make this very poor mistake. And he's going to deploy. Maybe someday. Turn to the right, maybe. Maybe he's paying too much attention to this push here with the marder VTSI with some marder ones moving into the woods. Going to be able to take out pretty much all of this, actually. And simultaneously, yes, in fact, the infantry here is going to move in, try to put with the augers. He's got to deploy very quickly, though, or else he's going to lose some infantries. And all the while, in the middle, the major battle going on. Marder VTSI going to take the hits while the marder ones destroy this chasseuse. And actually, YKKY, it's kind of screwing this up. He's allowing a lot of free hits to go off on these VABs. And here comes another 4 units. Going to jump in and do quite a bit of damage, actually. YKKYYKK might be able to retake the lead with this if he's able to concentrate these Jaegers. If Corsair moves all these Jaegers in, he can still kill the squad, but he has to move them all in. All the while, it looks like we're going to see another small push-up of infantry right on top of an AMX 30B. This is kind of scary for Mr. Corsair, because if he loses this vehicle, it's over, man. That is an expensive vehicle. And here we go. The rocket's going to go off. This should die. It does, in fact, die. And now a significant lead for YKKYYKKY, as he has now secured this road of reinforcement, which allows him to get a lot of anti-tank vehicles and a lot of tanks. And so he's just picking off what he can. He's going for the Mutt, which has been using to give vision to Corsair at this point. And with the Mutt optically failing, he will not be able to spot this. And the Roland, too, could actually die if he doesn't pull back. He does, looks like, yes, he will pull back just in time. I mean, it should be important to note that this is a very international game. If you are new to Wargame European Election, you should know it's a very international name. There are a lot of people who play on Eastern North America, Eastern Europe, France, and Germany. I will say those are the big centers of the world. But there's also, I know Kamikaze is Japanese. I know that. Right? I know there are people playing, a lot of people were playing in Asia. I know there are 12 and 14 hour differences. So with that in mind, you have to realize that when these players are meeting each other, it might be like 5 a.m. for Corsair. It might be 5 p.m. for YKKYYKKY. Just because the interest of the game is. Speaking of which, big blunder here by Corsair, losing the recon vehicle, which has been spotting pretty much everything. He has a nice little angle here on these infantry, though. The marder VTSI and the marder ones will be firing on the chasseurs as well. The vehicles have been all cleaned up, and this is a fairly significant victory here for YKKYY, despite the blunder. The blunder was a huge blunder, but despite it, he'll still win. A small blunder here, the VAB should be joining this fight of the Jaegers. And all the while, like, it's looking pretty grim for Corsair. Corsair doesn't really have a lot of units on the map. And he just never allowed him to defend. But what he's doing really well is just taking these little towns, taking these reinforcement paths, and just playing very spec ops sneaky-ish. And watch as the Saracen drives by. Ooh, free pot shots, 1 down for free. And helicopters going to try and do a little bit of damage, but nothing really came of that. In fact, the infantry that were here are dead with relative ease. All done amongst the battle. And good players, of course, are going to do that. They're going to use multiple attacks at once. So he moved up a lot of these infantry, and simultaneously he moved up infantry attack at the bottom. You got to realize that people are humans. And so if you see red dots on your map, you're going to go like, oh, really? What's going on here? And then, oh, you know, this will be the second thought. So a lot of this is timing. If you time one attack as a distraction, you can gain a slight advantage in respawn time. The Gazelle will get saved, the AH.1 recon helicopter, but the majority of the helicopter forces of Corsair, who has been using helicopters quite prominently in this tournament, not in an all-in fashion, is down. There's actually a lot of stuff here for YKKYYKKY to clean up. In fact, lost 2 vehicles to the chasseurs, which has been devastating the reinforcement lines here for poor little YKKYYKKY. As well, there's still some Yaugers in the woods here. Will get cleaned up by the chasseurs from Moss, but I mean, that's something that Corsair has been doing very solid, very good. He's been very good at placing infantry in these little wood paths and just hitting everything. This is a very well-placed chasseurs. It's going to take a lot. And here comes the Weasel MK20s. He's not messing around. He's bringing his helicopters and some infantry. He's bringing a lot of stuff. He wants to clear this infantry because it's kind of the point now for YKKYYKKY that he can actually put in the finishing moves. He can actually kill Corsair and secure cash. Securing cash is a big part of this tournament. If you're leaving this tournament with a minimum of $300 when you put this much effort in, it's much better than coming up with nothing at all. And so we're seeing the gazelles, the flock of gazelles from YKKYY going to spread around and try and pick off what they can. And Cobra coming to intercept, but this is not the right choice. The Cobra should go down here. And we're seeing a chase, and yes, it does in fact go down. And so here comes the flank. Actually, he's going to completely ignore these chasseurs. He's going to go around the long way. And going towards the Charlie location completely out of fuel because that is the long way. Although I would see an infantry group coming in for Corsair, which of course is getting picked off by these martyrs and marder VTSI. And he's secured a nice little location in these woods again. Now there are artillery on the map, which means infantry are not going to do particularly well in clumped up situations like this. In fact, this is absolute slaughter. And these are not super far away. These are quite close mortar carriers. That means they do extremely high damage, very good accuracy, and are just decimating this force. This is forcing Corsair's hand. He's forced to move these vehicles forward into basically a firing line, and that's not really what he wants. Nobody wants that. And will he be able to kill anything? If he can kill anything, that'd be great, but it doesn't look like he can. The Fusiliers are dropped preemptively. One rocket does go off, and nothing really killed there. So Corsair playing massively from behind, not really a position that he's used to. And I know that was a gay joke, and I apologize for that, but there was really no appropriate expression for playing from behind. All the while, YYKKYYKKY gonna go ahead and, whoa, do something crazy. He's actually pushed back that position, and he's gone right for the command armor. This is completely unexpected, throwing a lot of infantry into the flak panzers, into the command armor. Now he can drop the Yaugers to deal with these anti-aircraft vehicles and chase with the Fuchs and Saracens, which it looks like exactly what's going to happen right now. All the while, we see another little package of units on the southern flank supporting from the rear. There is a rise patent in position to help try and deal with this, but he needs more units, a lot more units. And this India location might just get taken out. In fact, he's not going to be able to bring his commander back here. He might have to move it all the way back to Juliet and have that long reinforcement path, which will not play very well for him, considering that he doesn't have map control right now. All while a single TPZ Fuchs is going to try and chase down the command armor. Every other vehicle is completely dedicated to getting rid of this one flak panzer, And if he can get this command vehicle, that would be absolutely game-changing. It would be a point where Corsair would have to tap out. And he's in range. Does he have vision? He does. Why isn't he shooting? That's weird. It should automatically... It looks like a bug of some sort. But there are some helicopters coming around the back. These are, of course, going to come in handy. Corsair rallying it to more of his own helicopters. And YYKKY needs vision. He needs to move this vehicle into the woods here. Flak Panthers are moving into defense. So are the AMX rolling twos. And here we go. He's in position. He should be able to get this kill relatively easily. TPC Fuchs was actually killed. And he's got almost half the shots, half the health from one round of shots. And there goes level 3 and level 2. Well deserved for these captains. And they've paid themselves off. There's now only one command armor on the map here for Corsair, who's just so far behind right now. The fact that he can even save these helicopters is amazing. The vast majority of players in this tournament, when doing these types of maneuvers, have not been able to save this helicopter. Look at this saved helicopter. I mean, I know I said saved, but I mean in parentheses, you know, saved. That doesn't look like a saved helicopter. That helicopter looks like it's going to go down on its own. More helicopters getting rallied out for Corsair. He's in desperation mode right now. Absolute desperation mode. He needs to make something happen. He needs to take out a couple of command armors to get back in this game. In fact, he just needs to win. This position now no longer important. He needs to focus on the middle, which is very heavily fortified, by the way. And anything that's come through here is just getting stopped. The mortar is low on ammunition, which might give an opportunity for an attack. Attacking into a mortar gets to be kind of problematic because the second that you stop moving, the mortar just dominates you. Massive stuns everywhere. And certain vehicles you need to stop, like these AMX 30Bs and these Rise Patents. Long range. You don't want them to get into range of units. And it looks like we're seeing here Corsair is going to set up for an attack. And here he goes. This is the last hurrah of Corsair rushing into infantry. And that's not where he wants to be. He immediately loses one high value target, the AMX 30B, which is a very expensive unit. Very high damage. And looks like YYKKYY is going to take this position as well. He's just sort of taking every position on the map right now. And he's creating a very strong surround on this base here, this Foxtrot location. And you can see he actually has every single point. There's no point that Corsair can go to make this work. If he were to try to attack in any direction, move in any direction, he would get attacked. And this is not done for humiliation or for anything. It's done just so that he can secure himself. By cutting off these roads with infantry, he'll make sneaky attacks less possible. That's all. So as part of the last hurrah, looks like we're going to see 8 infantry going to be brought in with these Rise Patents. And this is it. This is the big moment. If he can make this work, it's it. Here we go. Infantry going to go in the woods. He has some infantry deploying on top of a Weasel MK20, something that's been here for quite a while. Rise Patent actually going to run out of fuel in this attack. And where's the Marder VTSI? It's out of ammunition. This could actually do quite a bit of damage. As the vehicles will go down, he can now refocus on these Marders, which of course are chopping up his infantry piecemeal. And have been doing so for pretty much the entire game. These Rise Patents, not often the tank of choice for players in this game, mostly because people in this game play with cheap units. But as they march through, they might be getting a little bit too close. The Yaugers are now in range to fire and will be able to do high damage with their blind side rockets. And in fact they do. Lots of damage going out. There's only 2 Rise Patents left. The TPZ Fuchs and the Saracens are mostly going to be useless in this battle as they're trying to run around and hit something. One more Rise Patent goes down. And if this last Rise Patent goes down, it might as well be Corsair's time to tap out. And it does. 10 minutes left in the game. 900 point difference. Corsair, looking at this, that he's lost 300 bucks. And has to be thinking to himself, how do I get out of this? What can I do? He's got another 2 BABs moving around the side here, but there's already 2 Marder 1s here ready for it. This random flank of Marder VTSIs, Marder 1A1 and Chasseurs Moss dealing with the remnants of these units. There's still 10 minutes left in the game. There's still enough time to get enough points for another attack, but for all intents and purposes, this game is won. YKKYKKY has done a very good job, has a very potent and obvious victory, and was able to knock out one of the tournament's top contenders. As I would think, he is somewhat of an underdog in the tournament. So we have our first semi-finalist. His name is a collection of 2 letters in random order. They're in a language I do not understand because they don't form a word. And his name is YKKYYKKY. There's just no way to make that name exciting.